Welcome to Park Yoga. My name is Naomi, and a very big welcome to you from me and from all the other instructors at Park Yoga. So, welcome to the 2021 season, and I am the Mindhead Yoga instructor. So, I teach the weekly class at Mindhead, but we're also bringing you some online classes as well. So, welcome and thank you for joining us. So you may already know, but you may not, Park Yoga is a charity, and it was set up to encourage people to create a connection between each other and also with nature. So perhaps you've got the opportunity today to practice outside like I am. Maybe it's sunny where you are, maybe it isn't and you're inside, but that's okay too. But Park Yoga was set up with the idea to connect people together and with nature. Because we're a charity, we do accept donations. So if you are looking to make a donation, I know a lot of people ask how they can make a donation, then you can go to the website parkyoga.co and you can follow the instructions there on how to make a donation if you wish. So thank you for joining us, and you may be up to date with all of the information that is going on with Park Yoga. You may not know all of the events and everything that's going on, and you can follow us on our Facebook pages. There's one for each of the locations, so mine would be the Mindhead location, but there's lots of other locations as well. You can also follow us on Instagram, or you can keep an eye on the website and just have a look and find out more there if you wish. Park Yoga is for everybody. We really want to try and encourage as many people as we can to join in. However, it is a physical activity, and therefore today, if you're joining me, please make sure that you're fit and healthy and safe to do so. So if you have any injuries or any illnesses or are under the care of a medical professional at the minute, just make sure with them that it's okay to practice your yoga first. And if you've ever been told by a medical professional not to do physical exercise, then please don't participate in this class. And if you are pregnant, we usually say that if you are pregnant, then we recommend that you don't come to Park Yoga classes, particularly if you have not really done much yoga before. If you are well and truly a seasoned yogi and you are now pregnant, then do make sure with your doctor that you are safe to practice before doing so. So today's session is going to be a yoga class for runners. So we are going to stretch out all of those stiff areas, particularly if you're a runner. Maybe it's the front of your thighs, maybe it's the back of your thighs, the glutes as well, maybe even a little bit into the shoulders. And we're going to stretch all of that out. And we're also going to find some movement patterns that are different to how we run. So when we run in a forwards motion. But the body and the spine particularly has a lot of other directions that it can move in. And today we're going to be exploring those different movements to really keep our full range of motion in our body and to stretch out those tight muscles. So roll out your yoga mat and come and join me. So we're going to start in our child's pose. We're just going to settle into the class. So take your big toes together, take the knees nice and wide, and then stretch those arms out long in front of you. And you're just going to take the hips back to the heels. Potentially, maybe you reach the forehead down to the mat. Maybe you choose to rest the forehead on a cushion. Lengthen the arms out in front of you. And then just close the eyes. And take a few cycles of breath here. So in our yoga practice, we really try to use our breath to help us to settle in. So just breathing in and out through the nose. And that's going to help you to find some calm, and particularly in those stretches where you feel really tight. Using your breath can be a great way to encourage the muscle to relax and to find a little bit of quiet in the mind too. So just taking these few moments now and settling in. So Park Yoga is, we try to find some energy and we try to find some calm, and we're going to find that balance today. So using our yoga to energize us, but also to find some calm too. So when you're ready, just gently walk your way up with the hands. Just walk yourself all the way up. And then cross over the legs. And we're just going to sit down on our bum. Take the feet hip width apart. And you can take the knees in line with the ankles. If you're comfortable to sit cross-legged, then you're more than welcome. But I know a lot of runners, they feel quite tight in the hips, and that's just not possible. So if this feels better, you're going to sit here with a gentle bend in the knees. As you grow up tall, just exhale and wrap the left arm around the knees. The left hand comes to the right knee. And then take your right hand behind you and take a gentle twist. You can look behind you if you wish, or you can gaze out to the side if that feels better. So just trying to find that release, that gentle stretch. We're just warming up, twisting the body, stretching through the shoulders, the spine. And then inhale, come to center and swap sides. So take the right hand onto the left knee. The elbow just sits onto the right knee. And then gaze behind you if you wish, or maybe just look to the side. And just settle in. And if you're sitting cross-legged, you've just got the right hand on the left knee. And you're sitting up nice and tall, whichever variation you're in. And then inhale back to center. Just cross over the ankles and rock forward to all fours and find yourself in a nice tabletop position. And then from here, we're going to come through cat-cow. So inhale, dip the belly, lift the gaze. And exhale, round through the spine. So you might be new to yoga, particularly if you're a runner. Maybe you've not really done much yoga before, and that's okay. Cat-cow is a really nice one to just gently dip your toes in. So inhale, lift the belly, or drop the belly, lift the chest, and exhale, round through the spine. Inhale, dip the belly, lift the chest, lift the tailbone. Exhale, round through the spine. And just take that a couple more times. You can move at your own pace. And just notice that spine becoming more mobile. Just notice yourself finding some space in the vertebrae. And then when you're ready, coming back to neutral, coming back to all fours. And taking your right toes behind you, pushing into the heel of the foot. And if you are a runner, maybe you're not, maybe you're just joining this class anyway, and that is absolutely fine. But if you are a runner, this is going to feel quite tight. You're going to feel that stretch in the calf. So remember to come back to your breath. We talked about the importance of the breath, and really try to remember that if you can throughout the class. I'll remind you from time to time, don't worry, but maybe just use it if you can as your own reminder. Bring the knee back to center. And then swap sides, push that heel away, lengthen away. Really creating space and length through the calf muscle. So that's the muscle on the back of the lower leg. Just lengthening through the body. Lovely. And inhaling, coming back with those knees, just coming back to center. And then we're going to creep those hands further forward. And then just tuck the toes, push up and back, downward facing dog. And so in our downward facing dog, take a big bend in the knees to begin. We want the hands just wider than shoulder width, the feet hip width apart. And we're trying to find length in our spine if we can. So lift the hips to the sky. Have a soft bend in those knees. And then maybe you choose to begin to straighten the legs. And particularly the backs of the legs, they will probably feel quite tight. You may want to take a deeper bend in one knee, just to focus on one leg at a time. Sometimes that can feel more manageable. Think about spreading the fingers. The shoulders are strong. And then gently switching that bend, swapping to the other side if you wish. So we've got one leg bent quite a lot, and then the other is either fully straight, or you can still keep a bend in that leg too, depending on what feels good for you. Good. And then just come forward and come back down to your tabletop position. Come back to that all fours. And then from here, push the shoulder blades away from one another. Push into the hands and hover the knees. So we're building that core strength. We're building the strength around our abdominals and our back body. And that's really, really useful for running. That's going to help you to use your arms to help you power through each stride. When you're ready, release the knees down to the ground. And then just walk the hands forward again and come back up to your downward facing dog. Push those hips up and back. And maybe pedal the feet one by one this time. So bringing a little bit more movement into your downward facing dog. Then from here, lift up your right foot all the way to the ceiling and sweep it to between the hands. If it doesn't quite reach, just take a hold of the ankle and bring the foot further forward. And then from here, drop the back knee down and then gently walk the hips backwards. And we're going to start to lift the toe of that front leg. So as you lift the toes, that will increase that stretch through the hamstring and the calf. So you want your chest nice and long and that front leg really, really stretching down through the back of the muscles. The more the toe comes up to the sky, the more you're going to feel that stretch. Remember your breath. And if you can't reach the ground and you've got yoga blocks or you've got big thick books, then you can always take your hands onto those. Breathing into the pose. And then wiggling forward, planting your left hand to the mat and reaching your right fingertips up to the sky. And really enjoying that stretch. If you want to take it further, you can lift that back leg. And so here we're finding a lovely stretch perhaps through that outer hip. Also finding a rotation through the chest, which is going to find some freedom of movement in your stride as you run. Good. Take another full cycle of breath, remembering that breath in and out through the nose if you can. And release the hand down to the mat. If you've got that back knee lifted, you can leave it lifted. Wiggle the right foot to the outside of the mat and take the right hand inside of the right foot. And we're going to come to a variation of our lizard pose. This is a really nice pose for opening the fronts of the hips, the hip flexors. Stretching out through the glute as well, but also finding stability in our hip joint. If this is too much, you can drop that back knee down. Takes a little bit of a strength out of the pose. It means you can settle in and relax a little bit more if that's what you're after today. Really trying to find that balance between energy and relaxation today. Good. When you've finished, lift that back knee and then step all the way back to downward facing dog. This time lift the left leg up, sweep the foot to between the hands, just as we did on the other side, dropping that right knee down to the ground. And then pushing the hips back, lifting the left toe all the way up to the sky. Lengthen through the spine, and the more you flex that foot, the tougher that stretch is going to feel. So if it feels really intense, lift your hands onto blocks and maybe relax the flex of that foot. You only have to work as hard as you want to today. So really just listening to your body and settling in. Knowing that this time is just for you. And then when you're ready, just gently walking the hands forward, we're going to plant our right hand, spread the fingers, right hand to the mat, left hand up to the sky, gaze to that thumb if you wish. If that's enough, stay there. If you want more, lift that back knee, find that really nice strong high lunge with that revolved twist. And reach the fingertips up to the sky. So we're not dropping into that back arm. We're really strong, reaching up, finding stability in the hips, finding that stretch in the glutes, maybe even in the inner thighs too. Chances are, if you've got tight muscles, if you are a dedicated runner, you might feel this all over your body, and that's okay. Just breathe into your stretches. Never go into any pain. If it's feeling painful, please ease on out of the pose. And then from your revolved lunge, just gently bringing that left hand down towards the earth. And then heel toe the left foot to the outside of the mat. So the hands are about shoulder width apart, and that left foot is sitting outside of your left hand. Option to keep that back knee lifted. Option 2, release it down to the ground for a slightly less strong pose. So we're coming back into that lizard pose, that lizard variation. I'm just really enjoying that stretch now. So we're opening up into the glutes, particularly maybe into the inner thighs. You might feel that they're tight. And we're finding a good length through that lower back as well, which is really nice. Because running can sometimes put impact through our spine, it's nice just to find a gentle broadening, widening of that lower back, which we find in our lizard pose. When you're ready, lift that back knee if you haven't already and glide your left foot back to downward facing dog. And just maybe wiggle the hips side to side. If you've still got a big bend in those knees, that's absolutely fine. You can always bend the knees in your downward facing dog. And then from here, we're gently going to just drop down to our knees. And then bringing your right foot forward. So you want both knees at 90 degrees here. So we're coming into a lunge. But as runners, generally we have quite tight hip flexors, but they're also generally quite inflamed as well. So we don't want to add a lot of pressure into them by coming into a traditional low lunge. So in yoga, a low lunge might look something like this. We're going to ease off and we're going to take a shorter stride. So bring that foot closer to the body than you might normally. And then we're going to take our hands to our pelvis. Take your pelvis to point forward. So drop your pelvis forward. And then tuck your tailbone, squeeze your glutes. And as you do that, you're probably going to feel that massive activation, that massive stretch coming through the left hip flexor. So the hip flexor is just the muscle that comes from the top of your thigh into your hips and your spine. So it's that muscle that controls that forward motion as you run. So you can take the hands to the hips. If you want to take that pose deeper, if you're sitting there thinking this is feeling good, then you might want to bring the hands up to the sky. Still really keep that lovely tuck of the pelvis, that long spine. So we're really thinking pelvis or tailbone underneath as we find that stretch for the hip flexor. So this is a really nice, safe stretch for the hip flexor without adding tension to the ends of the muscles. If we take that low, deep lunge, sometimes it can add a little bit of pressure, a little bit of tension, soreness into the ends of the hip flexor muscles if they're already tight. So taking this option today. If you're happy here, stay here. If you want to go a step further, maybe you want to hover that back knee. So you're keeping the tailbone tucked, really finding that strength, and you will now feel that firing up in that back quadriceps. So that's the front muscle of that back leg. You're going to feel that now. And then release back down, release the hands, and gently switching sides. So set yourself up on the other side. Take a moment, particularly if you are used to doing that long lunge. You want knee over ankle, roughly 90 degrees in your front knee and roughly 90 degrees in that back knee. Tip the pelvis forward and then tip that pelvis back. Squeeze the glutes and feel that deep stretch coming in through the front of that hip. You can settle with the hands on the hips if that's feeling enough for you today. If you want to take it further, you can reach those hands up to the sky. So as you reach up to the sky, try to keep the lower ribs drawn in. We're just lengthening through the body rather than creating a back bend. And then from here, either staying as you are or if you choose, hovering back knee. Keep that tailbone tucked, and that's going to bring a lovely active stretch into that front thigh muscle. So really feeling it now. So that right leg, that front of that right leg is going to start to feel that good, lovely juicy stretch. When you're ready, release it back down. And then we're just gently going to take the hands down to the mat either side of that front foot. And then lift the back knee and maybe wiggle the feet a little bit further away from one another. So we're coming into our lunge. From here, turn the back toes to face the long edge of the mat. So they're at nearly 90 degrees. And then inhale, windmill all the way up. So we're coming into our warrior two. Bending your front knee, arms reaching out long to the sides. Take a breath. And then releasing the front forearm down to the thigh and taking that upper arm up and over. And we're coming into extended side angle. And you should begin to feel that stretch somewhere down your side body, maybe into the hip, maybe into the shoulder. If it's too much, then keep yourself upright in your warrior two. If you prefer, in that deeper extended side angle. So really listening to your body, finding what works for you. And then inhale, windmill the hands back, straighten that front leg and turn the toes to face the long edge. So now both feet are facing the long edge. Exhale, take the hands to the hips and take a forward fold. So release the head, release the shoulders, just let the body soften over the legs. You may want to bend those knees a touch if you've got tight hamstrings. And you can either rest the hands onto the legs or down onto the mat. And if you're really tight, if you are a very committed runner, you might be somewhere up here, and that is okay. Wherever you are, try not to take the hands onto the knees. We're trying to keep pressure off of the knees. But wherever you are, just relax the chin to the chest. Just let the head become heavy and enjoy that extension, that lengthening through the spine, and that stretching through the backs of the legs and the glutes as well. So those muscles that are really, really strong for our running. When you're ready, just walking the hands to the front of the mat and turning the toes. So you should end up somewhere back in a lunge. If you don't worry. Just hop yourself there and come back and join. And then we're going to step back with that foot. And then we're going to step forward now with our right foot. So as you step forward with your right foot, turning the left toes out to face the long edge of the mat. And then windmill the arms. So we're coming to warrior two now to face the other side. Just make sure that that front knee stays over the ankle, our shoulders stay over our hips, and then coming into extended side angles. So forearm to thigh, and then reach that back hand up and over to point towards the front of your mat. And try not to dump in. So I know that if you have just done this after a run, you're going to be feeling tired. Maybe you're feeling tired anyway, even if you've not done a run. And that's okay. But try to keep a little bit of strength if you can in your torso. So we're using the strength of our body to help us to stretch. Take another cycle of breath. Good. And then windmill the hands down either side of the front foot and step all the way back to downward facing dog. And so this time in our downward facing dog, we're going to try and find stillness. So maybe you still have the knees bent, maybe you have the heels heading towards the ground. Just enjoy that length. Enjoy that stretch down the backs of the legs. Good. And then when you're ready, just dropping the knees down to the mat. And cross over the ankles and just take your hips over beyond the ankles. So you're coming to cross-legged. And just settle yourself up, sit yourself nice and tall. And then inhale, reach the hands up high. And then exhale, begin to hinge at the hips and just folding forward. And taking the hands down to the ground. You don't need to come all the way down. You may not have that flexibility. You might be higher up. If you find it really hard to sit cross-legged, then you can just take that wide-legged pose that we took earlier, but take the feet wider than hip width. And then you can just bring the hands forward. Try to keep the spine long, whichever variation you're in. Just take a moment of pause. And then when you're ready, just rolling back up. And if you've got the legs crossed, then now just bring them so that they're hip distance apart, the feet, and the knees are just slightly bent. You might want to make sure that you shuffle a bit further down on your mat so that you've got space on your mat behind you. We're going to take our hands behind us and then just take your left foot so it comes onto your right thigh. And you might need to use your hand to get it here. And we're going to take this glute stretch. This is a really nice way to control a stretch of your glute muscles. So your glute muscles are your bum muscles. This is a really controlled way to stretch it. If you want less of a stretch, move the right leg away. If you want more, bring that right leg in. Use your hands behind you for support. Sit up tall and maybe close the eyes. And if you can, flex that right foot, or the left foot, sorry. I've got my left and right all muddled up today. So flex your left foot so it's nice and active. That ankle is really strong. And then when you're ready, just settle in that pose. Just release every thought. Maybe take a sigh out if you need. And then just gently switch sides. Again, if you need, just gently take the ankle. And we're now taking right ankle onto left thigh. Sit up nice and tall, flexing the right foot so the ankle is strong and active. That just protects your knee. Particularly if you are a runner, you will want to be protecting those knees. Even if you're not a runner, we always want to protect our joints. So sitting up tall. Again, if you want to ease off the stretch, just moving that left leg away from you. Crown of the head grows up to the sky. Spine is long. Chest is open. And just enjoy a moment of quiet. Even if the stretch is intense, remember to use your breath. And find that calm, that settling in your pose if you can. Good. And just gently uncross the legs. I'm going to take both these legs out in front of us. And now we're coming to probably the trickiest pose. But don't worry, we're going to work through it together. So inhale, sit up tall, and then flex your feet. So draw the toes inwards so the ankles and lower legs are really, really strong. And again, that's going to protect your knees. And it might be that this is enough for you. You might want to just rest the hands beside you. And this might be enough, finding that 90-degree angle between your thighs and your torso. If you want to take it further, you can begin to creep the hands further forward and you can hinge at the hips. If you're really flexible, you might want to lay all the way down. If, like me, your hamstrings are feeling a little bit tight today, then go gently. Yoga is all about listening to our body, tuning in with how we feel. It's not about forcing it. And if you want, maybe you can bend the knees if that feels better. There's this lovely quote, which just sums up really what yoga's all about. And it goes, yoga is not about touching your toes. It's what you learn on the way down. And maybe that really resonates with you right now as you're sitting in your forward fold. And maybe it doesn't, but one day that will click with you, I promise. Inhale, come back to center. And then just bend the knees and scoot the hips a little further down the mat. And just gently relying on your back. Lengthen you. Take the feet hip width or mat width apart and allow the toes to fall out to the side. And walk the shoulder blades closer together and turn the palms up to the sky. And just settle here for a moment now. So it might be that you love to have a busy lifestyle. And most of us do have busy lives. It's the way we've been conditioned, and sometimes it can feel hard to take a rest. Particularly if you're a runner, you might thrive on that go, go, go. But right now, just take a moment of pause with me, laying on your back, and really just indulging in this moment of peace for the body. And this moment of calm is going to allow our muscles to soften. So as you lay here, try to find a sense of calm and a sense of relaxation. Any gnawing thoughts, just let them go. And just become conscious of your body and any areas that feel tight. As you exhale, allow them to soften. And really just allow the whole body to sink into relaxation. And just spending a few moments here settling in, releasing tension, releasing stress. When you're ready, wiggle the fingers and wiggle the toes. And then take the inner thighs together, point through the toes and reach the arms up and overhead. Take a full body stretch, lengthen through the whole of the spine. And when you feel ready, just gently roll onto your right side of your body. Maybe take a hand to support you under the head, bending your left knee to bring you over to the right. And you can pause for a moment here if you choose. And just in your own time, I invite you to come up to seated. Just gently finding your way in cross-legged. Sitting up tall with the spine and then just connecting the hands together at the heart center. Drop the chin to the chest and blinking open the eyes. So thank you everybody for joining us at Park Yoga today. So it has been lovely to have you here with us. And I hope that you really enjoyed that class and perhaps you feel suitably relaxed and maybe stretched out. And if you're a runner, maybe you found some of those poses really quite tricky, but that's okay. Stretching isn't as easy as it looks. I hope that you have enjoyed that yoga class, and I wish you a lovely rest of your week. And I just wanted to say goodbye from me, Naomi, Mindhead Yoga instructor, and also from everybody, all the instructors at Park Yoga. We wish you a lovely week. And just before you go, if you would like to stay in touch with us, obviously this being a virtual class, it would be lovely to see how you got on. If you have photos of you doing your Park Yoga, do feel free to tag us or to share them to your local page on Facebook. Do follow us on Instagram at Park Yoga UK. Make sure you keep an eye on your local Facebook page for your Park Yoga site, and there'll be all the information that you need for any upcoming sessions and events. So thank you, and from all of us at Park Yoga, goodbye.